Well, just a quick follow-up to my last video here. And this is not for the, should I say, delusional people who seem to think that somehow this is all going to work out just fine. You know, the chances are that BP will get off far more lightly than most Americans think it deserves, and in particular will not pay the full costs of this environmental catastrophe. The only thing that could damage this calculus is if the Democrats take large midterm losses, and the fact that the economy is completely in stall, contrary to optimists' predictions, makes it more likely. If Obama, for some reason, believes that his re-election is imperiled, and many Democrats seem to believe he is protected by the lack of viable candidates on the Republican side, he may suddenly develop a backbone, taking a hard line, and for a change actually following through with it, with a near universally hated company by now, is a political no-brainer. But hey, leave it up to the Democrats and you'll get the same result every time. And although, you know, I'm no legal expert, criminal prosecution would seem to open up the possibility of actually canceling some of the oil leases now in progress, or at least stopping new leases. I wouldn't count on it though. Despite BP's brazenness, it could be simultaneously preparing itself for worst-case options. Some investors see a breakup, takeover, or bankruptcy filing as a real possibility. This is from the Globe and Mail. A few weeks ago, when BP was already relatively confident that it could stem the flow, there was little sense that BP faced anything more than a very expensive cleanup bill. While some still think that that's the case, others say the company's breakup, takeover by a rival energy company, or heavyweight, or bankruptcy in whole or in part, is probable, if not certain. BP could be facing the death penalty in the US as far as corporate entities go, but the viability of the company is most certainly in question at this point. Now you see that this entire discussion is now once again about money, about profits, about profitability of the company. There's no more pretense really about caring for the environment, you know, about dead birds washing up on the shore, about people losing their livelihoods in several states in the South, probably, you know, other states involved in the future. No pretense at all. So basically, BP is now moving to segregate the oil spill operations from a managerial standpoint. And it's very conceivable that each major production operation is on an entirely separate legal level, both nationally and internationally. And of course, we all know now what happens in international waters, don't we? So basically, BP is shoving off the Gulf of Mexico operation to a separate in-house business entity to be run by an American in a bid to isolate this toxic entity and to dilute some of the anti-British feeling. I'm not even sure if it's anti-British, to tell you the truth. It's basically anti-corporate, but these guys writing these articles simply don't get it. And if the Guardian newspaper has it right, BP could be in the process of trying to maneuver to keep the U.S. claimants from getting access to full resources of the company to pay reparations in the Gulf. This could get nasty indeed. Well, it's already getting nasty, and rest assured, everything is just going to continue as usual. Once this calamity is somehow over or covered over, things will continue precisely as usual. The interests of the corporations and the people have, in a way, at least in the West, merged to some degree. Because what we want is cheap energy to provide everything in your home, and you know, this goes for my own computer, this goes for my own use of electricity and all of that. So in a way, we're all hypocrites. So the problem is not so much BP as a whole, the problem is systemic. And the problem comes from being too selfish and perhaps too unaware of what we are doing to the planet as a species, for one thing, and how much advantage we take of others, other humans and creatures on this planet to sustain essentially unsustainable lifestyles. We all need to drop our expectations for higher and higher living standards. You know, for all I care, you can cast Tony Hayward adrift in the open sea. I mean, fuck him. Set him out on this, you know, $2 million yacht and cast him adrift, and hopefully he'll set anchor on that plastic island, which is basically the size of the United States, in the Pacific, and let him set anchor there and never be heard from again. But the problem is also us. We expect things which are, for the most part, non-sustainable, and so we can't just absolve ourselves from this responsibility. Although, you know, we've been goaded into believing that, hey, everybody can be an astronaut, you know. No end of opportunities. Well, there is an end to certain resources here on Earth, and if we could just get together and get behind the idea that there are actually renewable resources. But you know, that would mean that we all have to scale back. We in the West. And nobody seems to get behind that idea. And as long as the powerful nations, so to speak, and their populations are continuously being told that, yes, you know, you can be the new astronaut, you have unending opportunity, then these lies are just simply going to continue. And we're going to end up destroying the whole goddamn planet in the process. Good night.